All right. So everything rolling, all good.
Yes.
Beyond Physical, episode 1.
Yay!
Right into it. A little bit of nerves first time, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But basically, we'll just run everyone through what it's about, what we're going to be chatting about. So Horizon is very much focused on how movement can improve your life holistically. And we align a lot on that. I remember the first time you came through to Horizon, you spoke about how kind of the ethos of what I was talking about really resonated with you.
Yeah.
And that's also why I spoke to you initially and why I reached out to you, was that we were aligned on how exercise is more than movement,
Yeah.
which is also a bit of a trade secret in the process of being trademarked for our slogan, because that's what we're about. We're about using exercise and movement to improve people's lives. And we appreciate how it does transcend the physical. It goes
Yeah.
beyond the physical benefits that you get from it. It goes beyond that kind of endorphin rush. It's the social. You meet people. We've built such an awesome
Yeah.
relationship over the last year
Yeah.
around exercise. You know, we've got our beautiful community that's growing month to month, all centered around exercise. And it can be used to support you and be there for you when no one else might be. So if you go through a tough time, exercise can be a constant in your life. And there's so many, the list goes on in terms of what exercise can do for you and what movement can do for you. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing and talking about. And as we go along, we'll also have different guests from various different aspects
Yeah. Super exciting.
of life, not specifically fitness focused, but you can then hear how people from different avenues use exercise in their lives to improve their lives.
Approach,
Exactly.
how their approaches differ with their
100%.
lifestyles and
Yeah. And what's super cool about that is because, like, so we are obviously fully in the whole fitness space.
Yeah.
That kind of sometimes can
24/7.
give, it can give like a one-dimensional feel
Yeah.
to using exercise. So when we're speaking to our clients who are musicians, who are restaurant owners, who are normal 9-to-5ers, like
Yeah.
that can give you a perspective on things that, you know, may resonate a lot more with you than someone like me who, for the last year up until now, literally lived in the gym.
Yeah.
So there was no barrier to exercise.
Yeah.
My whole life is exercise. You too, you're an online coach.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do the marketing for a gym.
Yeah.
You know, your
Everything's
whole world is exercise.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes not so relatable. So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about, is how exercise helps people's lives. And
your mental
Yeah.
health.
what was it
Physical
about?
health.
Because you and Gideon have been pushing me to start this for a long
Yeah.
time.
So almost as soon as I started working here, like 9 months ago, I think like 2 weeks in, like working here, we just had such decent conversation and such like fulfilling conversation where we took away perspective from like, well, I would take perspective away from you or from Gideon, and just how, you know, fitness or focusing on wellness in different aspects of our lives and like how we approach it, and each of us had a different way of doing that, you know. And yeah, since then we were speaking about a podcast, and like for 9 months straight we've been speaking about a podcast, so super exciting that we're finally doing it. Super excited to have some guests on board as well. Think it's really great for people who want to, you know, get more into fitness, take care of their mental well-being and just their overall well-being, just to hear how others do it. Yeah.
It's also, I remember the thing we also spoke about was that obviously we're a boutique space. We don't offer, as Virgin would or other gyms would, kind of unlimited memberships where they just open. I mean, we want to include everyone, but
Yeah.
just to keep the space pleasant, we have a capped membership.
Yeah.
So the people we reach and the lives that we can touch, you know, it's kind of limited to the space. Obviously, we've gone and we've started our movement club, which
Yeah.
helps us kind of spread our knowledge base and our community past just the gym, because you don't have to be a member to come to that. But that's also limited. That's only people in Cape Town.
Yeah.
So we thought, why don't we try and share things
To reach other people all over.
exactly, which is,
Yeah.
I think, super important. But yeah, so we had a few questions for this first episode. Do you know them off the top of your head?
Well, the first one I remember. No, I don't know them off. what is our view on 75 hard?
75 hard, that's actually a great starting
Yeah.
point, because that kind of embodies
That's
the
like one
whole-
of those things that, like, if you want to get into health and fitness, like, it's a good way, like, well, people think it's a good way to just throw yourself into it and, like, just get going. It's like one of those challenges that, you know, if you're not too familiar with fitness and you really want to be, and you've heard about 75 hard, you'll be like, okay, well, straight into that. But, yeah, let's hear your opinion first.
Well, thing is with 75 hard, it is hectic.
Yeah.
Like it's not an entry level.
It's not sustainable, in my opinion.
No, not
Yeah.
really. And it's definitely not an entry level kind of fitness
No.
challenge. But what it does symbolize for me is how doing something difficult physically can improve other aspects of your life. So for those of you who don't know, 75 hard was started by an entrepreneur, and I don't know if I'd call him a motivational speaker, but he does motivate people.
Yeah.
His name's Andy Frisella. He has a business called First Form, and he dedicated the majority of his 20s and 30s to building his business, and that was his priority. And his health kind of, he sacrificed his health to build that. And he looked in the mirror one day and he thought to himself, figuratively speaking, he looked in the mirror and he said, I am selling this First Form product, which is a health supplement, and I'm not healthy. That is hypocritical and that's unacceptable, and I want to change that. So he made this whole challenge where you stick to some sort of nutrition protocol or diet for 75 days with no cheat days.
Yeah.
in
No
quotation
days
marks.
off.
No days off. You train twice a day for 45 minutes per session, one outdoors, one indoors.
Yeah.
You drink a gallon of water, which I think loosely translates to about 4 liters of water, or 3.5 or something.
Crazy.
What else do you do?
You read 10 pages of a
a non-fiction
non-fictional
book.
book, yeah.
And then
I think there was one more other thing, I'm not
there's
too
a
sure.
progress photo one, or journaling.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's journaling.
There's a progress
Should
photo.
be, but there's a progress photo like once every week or something like that.
Yeah. So each of those things, like doing one of those things is manageable,
Yeah.
but doing them for 75 days consistently is when it gets difficult.
Yeah. Training twice a day.
yes.
4 liters of water every single day.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep up with for 75 days.
Yeah. It's also small enough of a thing to kind of be like, I'm going to like miss it just for this one day or whatever, and then you kind of have to restart.
Yeah.
And that whole...
And then it's always that like whole inner voice of like, I can't do it. Like,
Totally.
that was my issue because I tried 75 hard. Like when I first started getting into fitness and health and whatever, I was like, this is a great way to throw me in and to learn how to, like just be consistent and be accountable as well. And then like 5 days in, 6 days in, you're like, yo, this is a lot. And then, kind of have to stop, restart, and just, I think mentally it's just like you can get a little disappointed or like, so I try to refrain from any like challenge where you have to do, X, Y, Z for this amount of time. Because, I personally don't think it's very sustainable or healthy. But yeah.
So you don't like really leaning towards restrictive challenges?
Not at all.
Because you feel like there's going to maybe be a spillover afterwards, or?
100%. Well, for me, like with my fitness journey, like I have restricted myself countless times, like through different phases of like where I've been at, and it always just ends up making more problems than it does doing good for you, So I've learned for me and even for my clients just to indulge where you can, and obviously just have a balance instead, and not like if you want to make training a consistent thing, try 4 times a week. You can increase it from there onwards. 3 times a week, even 2, like whatever you can. Same with food, like do what you can. Don't restrict it all at once, and then get yourself in a situation where you like mentally have a problem with food or so restrictive lifestyle is definitely a no-go for me.
It's also because the thing is with restrictions, it leaves very little wiggle room for adjustment, and then when you miss that thing and you kind of quote unquote fail, there's a lot of negative self-talk that goes with that. I'm not good enough.
Exactly.
I'm a failure. I messed it up.
Yeah.
And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of what I think exercise can do
Yeah.
for people, which is it can give you confidence.
Yeah.
And it can give you confidence not because it makes you look better, it can give you confidence because it teaches you that you have the ability to follow through on commitments you make to yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what the beauty of starting small is, I find, in exercise, is take
100%.
something manageable, do that one thing consistently, whether it's a once a week or a twice a week thing, and just kind of pile up those weeks,
Yeah.
clock those weeks.
And also you'll feel the difference. Like after training like maybe one day a week for like 4 weeks, you'll start to feel like, okay, like this feels really good. And then as soon as you start to increase it, it feels even better. Just like slowly, you know, get yourself into it instead of just like all in. That all in mentality can be quite dangerous. Yeah.
And it's also, yeah, that's actually how, so before I'd learned about 75 hard, how I got into running was through a 100-day running challenge, which is just
yes,
an
I
arbitrary
remember
thing
this.
that I chose to do for myself when I finished my rugby playing days, and I thought I wanted to do something. And that for me, rugby towards the end of my time playing became like the difficult thing
Yeah.
that I was just doing because it kind of sharpened me mentally and it was a means to an end and whatnot.
Yeah.
But when that was no longer a part of my life, then I chose something which was between running and yoga for 100 days. And I've mentioned this countless times before, but worth mentioning again. Chose running, and the only agreement that I made with myself was you're going to do this thing for 100 days. It doesn't matter how far you run. It doesn't matter for how long you run. All you need to do is run every day for 100
Yeah.
days. And it sounds hectic, but some days I ran 200 meters. I jogged around the block and came back home.
But you still did it.
But I still did it.
Yeah.
Or I would literally go into the garden and run around 5 times, and that would be like
It.
150 meters or something. That would be it. And
Yeah.
I've clocked my run. And you know, you'd have people who would say, oh man, this 100-day challenge, you're not even going for a run. 150 meters is not a
Yeah.
run. Who determines what a run is?
Yeah.
Like, who's the gatekeeper on this?
Yeah.
Is what constitutes a run or not? You determine that. So and the value in that was, honestly, I think that 1 3-month period, 3 months and change, changed my life more than 90% of the things I've ever done, because
Yeah.
from there, that's when I kind of started building the whole running thing into my life, and it's
Yeah.
just become such a
Now
snowball.
you're a full-blown hybrid
from there.
athlete.
Now I run all the time, and I don't.
I
hate
wonder how
training.
you would have turned out if it was yoga for 100 days instead.
I think I would have ended up getting into something like rock climbing and stuff.
Probably.
Because yoga for me feels more that kind of vibe.
Really?
Where it's like you're I don't know, I feel like because there's the social element of that thing, I would have started to find curiosity in what my fellow
Okay,
yogis
yes. Yeah,
were doing.
yeah.
And I feel like people who do yoga,
Rock
they're like rock climbing. Yeah, like rock climbing and those kind of, maybe, I don't know, surfing or something.
Yeah, actually fair.
I would have, but the thing is with running, I find it's so easy to go and run in different places if you have the ability to go and run, and you're in a place like Cape Town, that it scratches that outdoors itch
Yeah.
really well. Like, that's why I kind of branched out into the trail
Trail
thing,
runs, yeah.
was because it's such a different experience to road running. It's just you're out in nature, you're checking out the view. You can, if you go up somewhere like the Villiers Dam, you can have a swim. But yeah, I mean,
Super
circling,
fulfilling.
it's so fulfilling, and it's such an important thing to get outside.
Yeah.
A lot of people who start off in the training, like fitness training thing, I did it myself. I only went to gym. So it's like, that's a very one-dimensional
Yeah.
thing. I enjoyed it, but you get to a point where it's like, I kind of feel like something different.
Yeah, it was
So-
the same for me. Like when I started, it was just training in the gym, and eventually it's like, okay, like I want to move my body in other ways. Like I want to be able to explore and do more. And for me, obviously, like I don't run, my joints could never, like not trail running, but like a hike or a walk or doing something outside. Like I'll consider that as a training day now, just because it's like I'm moving, I feel good, and I'm taking in everything around me. You know what I mean? So
Your presence.
yeah, and I think that's very important aspect to add into your training, whether it be running, whether it be walking, just moving outside in some way.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's also what I like about our movement club stuff, is we
Yeah, I was just about to say.
doing more outdoorsy things.
Yeah,
Which is
I love that too.
important. There was something that somebody asked about. What is that hardest part about? The hardest
running
part
a
about
gym.
running a gym.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that one can kind of Oh, we haven't been saying who asked the questions. The first question, by the way, the 75 hard. We've got to credit you guys. We can't just steal these questions.
We're learning. Still very new.
As we go. The first question was from Richard, so thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
Second question, hardest part about running a gym. Do you know who asked that? Also Richard.
Oh, that was Justin Miller.
Justin Miller.
Yeah.
The hardest part about running a gym, I would probably say either the hours or at least at the beginning stage, because for the first year I opened and closed probably 95% of the time. So open at 5:30 a.m., close at 9 p.m. So that's
every day.
Yeah, every day.
Apart from Sundays. Yeah.
Now we are open on Sundays.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe the hours, or to be honest, and it's not like, I don't mean to sound, I don't know how this might sound, but I don't find it very difficult.
No.
Like, because I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm excited to come
I don't
to
think
work.
it is very difficult for you. I think, like, if I were in your shoes, the only thing that would be difficult for me is just, like, having the capacity to, like, be around people every single day and, like, for that amount of time as well. But, like, for you, it's, like, such an easy thing. Like, you're just, like, so social and, like, you don't get tired of it. So
That's very true.
and also you just love it. Like, you
Yeah.
just love being in the space with people. So I don't think this is like work to you. It's not like a, you know, I don't think any of us really see it as like work,
yeah.
you know?
You know what I would actually say is the most challenging thing is like team dynamics and managing the team.
Oh, that is sometimes.
Because I'm not like a conventional boss. I like a flat organizational culture where it's like we can all see eye to eye and we can all communicate as equals.
Yeah.
I form very close relationships with all of you.
Yes.
So when it's like a challenging conversation that needs to be had, for me, especially if someone's fallen short and they haven't delivered when they need to deliver, that's quite challenging. But I think that would be challenging in any business, not just running a gym.
Yeah.
What else?
But yeah, I agree with you. I, from what I've seen so far, that's been the most like challenging. Yeah. Because I mean, it's
And I've received, the thing is, there's so many ways to skin a cat. It's very grotesque saying, but there are so many ways to go about doing that thing. That's the whole thing about entrepreneurship, is like there's no one way to do it. There are multiple ways. And some of my clients are also entrepreneurs, and some of them are super old school. They're hardcore. It's like, my employees are not my friends. There must be respect. There's a hierarchy. This is how things work. And actually, anecdotally, from what I've observed, and then you have the other side of the coin, which is more like where I lean towards, is like, I like having healthy relationships. I like to know what's going on in your life outside of work. I like to think that I'm fairly reasonable.
You are.
But
I must say also, like, it's way better working in an environment where you feel like we're all equal, you know, and like you can be heard with anything that you need to say, and like we have our relationship, like we're all pretty. You know, it's like a little family. It's a much lighter environment to work in. Well, in comparison, like I wouldn't really know, but like for me, that it's just Yeah,
so I had, like, the previous job that I worked before this, I was selling stuff, data and cloud consulting stuff, and my boss, both of my bosses, so first my boss was the chief revenue officer, so very quite high up, and the company was 250 employees, so quite a lot. And then after that, I got assigned a manager, and both my relationships with both of them were amazing, and it kind of took me by surprise. Was like and I would go for beers with them,
yeah, it's
and
like 250 people,
like super chilled, like not the kind of typical corporate thing you hear about at all. And that really, like, I wouldn't want to have had that hierarchical kind of paternalistic, like.
I could never picture you like that.
I wouldn't want that, you know, at all.
It would be kind of scary.
It would be weird, I think. But anyway.
Very weird.
But they kind of reinforced for me that you can lead in a way that isn't condescending and is like, you know, you're leading from within the team and not like from on top and like, you know, barking orders.
Yeah. I think you also like developing your own way of being a leader, you know, like what it means to you, what it means to your team. Yeah.
You know what was so weird? I don't know. So something that made me like feel a little bit, I don't know how it made me feel, but what I was uncertain about was, obviously I exercise a lot.
Yeah.
And when I'm in prep, that's a major priority in my life.
Yeah.
And I always thought that maybe you guys didn't appreciate, or not didn't appreciate, but you kind of got like bummed out by the fact that I spent so much time away from the gym and like training.
Really?
Yeah, like I was
The
super,
secrets are
I was
coming
super
out.
aware of that. I was like, shit, is this like unhealthy for the team to see?
Why didn't you say anything?
Because I was processing it. I wasn't ready to share it with the
It's
team
been
yet.
a long time now.
Yeah, it's been a while. Now it's coming out.
Really?
Yeah, but
I think that's just your concern as like the leader. Like, am I there enough? But I don't feel that any of us really had that. You know, we're all very supportive of what you want to do and what you want to achieve, and we all feel like you've been here more than enough. Like, I mean, you lived. This was Seb's
Yes,
room. This
context.
was where Seb's bed was.
That's
He's been here more than enough.
That's actually a great tangent.
Yeah.
This little hooky
Right
thing
here,
here,
corner.
this is where my bed was. So for those of you who want to have a little bit of a visualization exercise,
Yeah.
I slept here for a year. I still get weird about mentioning it because technically I wasn't allowed to live here, but I made a plan, so it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was my bedroom for a year. But yeah, I guess it's just weird things that we think about. I mean, you also
Yeah.
spoke to me about when starting the new role, feeling a little bit like,
Yeah, that was
you
very
know,
scary.
Am I right for this role? Like, is this
Very
my
much
thing?
imposter syndrome.
Imposter
And
syndrome.
I think still sometimes I do, you know, because it's like, because this is such a new thing for all of us, we're still like trying to find our roles and like figure them out and like create a proper like routine. And, you know, it's like, there's no blueprint. Like, no one's telling, you're not even telling me what to do. I'm just like, like what must I do?
Yeah.
You know, we're just figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
You know,
That's exciting though.
it is exciting,
I
and I
love
like
that.
that. I prefer that of anything.
Also-
Yeah, this is like, I thought about it the other day. I was like, if, like, I'm doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. I'm training people. I'm in the health and fitness industry, and I get to be creative with the marketing and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's all in one. Even though we're still figuring it out, we'll get there.
And
you know?
that's like so okay though. Like
Yeah.
I think people we kind of, especially people our age, like when you're
Yeah.
figuring stuff out in your 20s, you kind of like, oh no, there's like so much, and there is pressure for a lot of people. Like that's
I still catch myself like rushing, like
100%.
why haven't I got this figured out yet? Like why
Yes.
I should like know what I'm supposed to do. Like I should, you know. But things like this take time and like
and even your parents, like they don't know 100%. Like they're still figuring life out.
yeah.
Nobody
I
like
think everyone is.
very few people end up having it all figured out. So
I
if
don't
you-
think you ever figure it out. You know, I
No.
don't think there's ever a
no.
you know.
I think you do trial and error, and you find
Yeah.
ways that work better for you and ways that don't work so well for you, and then you kind of stick with the thing that's working well, and
Yeah.
you kind of maybe tinker here and there. Maybe I can improve it this way. Okay, yes, it's worked. Let's add that thing. Okay, no, it's not working. Let's pull it back, and that's an analogy that you can do with exercise as well.
Yeah.
You'll find things that work for you, that you enjoy, that your body responds well to, and you're like, okay, but we can
Trial and error.
trial and error.
Yeah, you have to.
You must do that. It's important to keep experimenting, keep your curiosity,
Yeah.
and it's totally fine to not know what you're doing and to be on a path of learning.
And also, even if it's like that for like a whole year, 2 years, I had that for 3 years, like not knowing anything and like just not knowing where I'm going and like how I'm going to get there. And now I'm like, okay, things are starting to make sense. Like I'm exactly where I should be. And all of that, like, you know, sitting and just dwelling and like, oh, how am I going to figure this out? Like, what's going to happen? Like, you know, where's life going to take me? Like, just things aren't going, well, according to my plan or like how I want them to go. Like, eventually it all comes, you know? Eventually it does. But you have to press into it. You have to lean into it. You have to take chances. You have to believe in yourself. Yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting. This conversation actually came up at our first Thursday event last week with Claire and Mike Wright and Richard Freund. All people in very different industries. You've got an academic, you've got sustainability, you've got journalism, and then gym man. And it's like we're all kind of speaking into the same thing, which is trial and error is absolutely vital. Whether you kind of have your thing or you haven't figured out your thing,
Yeah.
it's important to keep playing around and as you said,
Exploring, trying different things.
yes, and you have to also, like you said, believe in yourself, and that's important to believe in yourself, to give yourself permission to play around
Yeah.
and test things.
Yeah.
And that, you might not be the best at it to begin with, but
Yeah.
maybe
That's hard for a lot of people. Very difficult.
But I feel like that's also a little bit of an ego thing, where it doesn't feel good for anyone to not be good at a thing.
Yeah.
But if you reframe it, I found it helps. If you reframe something difficult or something that you aren't good at as an opportunity to be better, where it's like, I've got so much growing to do,
Yeah.
as opposed
So
to
much to learn.
Yeah, as opposed
I think
to,
it's just a perspective thing, really. Like how you choose to look at the situation. Like you can either look at it like, I'm just failing all the time. Like this isn't working for me. Like that can be your mindset, or you can be like, okay, I failed. What if I try again? What if I do things differently? What if I have a different approach? Like, I think it's just you have to learn how to sort of nurture that voice in your head that's a little bit more like, get up and try again, you know? That's the most important thing with trial and error, I think.
Yeah, it's okay to be figuring it out.
Yeah,
It's okay to not be on top of everything, because no one's on top of everything.
ever.
I think we might have a little bit of time for another question. What is that?
There was a question about Stoicism. Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, we can chat a little bit about Stoicism.
Okay.
That'll probably come up quite a bit on this
Yeah.
thing. Well, I suppose it depends on the guest, but yeah, Stoicism and exercise pair very well together, because the whole thought process behind Stoicism is focusing on what is within your control. And for me, one of the greatest kind of proverbial low-hanging fruit on the tree of what is within your control is exercise.
Yeah.
I can decide to go for a walk today. I can decide to move my body in the way that is physically possible for me today. And doing that, it provides a lot of comfort,
Yeah.
because there's so much that is out of our control. More things are out of our control than the things that are within our control. And this question is actually specifically around how does Stoicism tie into or inspire the whole more than movement or beyond physical motto. And it ties into that because movement and exercise can provide a kind of support structure for you in adding an element of predictability to your life.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of backbone of everything. That for me is why I love doing difficult events that require a prep.
Yeah.
Because my coach puts workouts in my calendar. I know these are the workouts that are going to be completed for the week and the month and the months to follow, and I execute on them. I don't know, when I wake up on a Monday, it's a rest day. Tuesday's a hard run. Wednesday's an easy run. Thursday's a hard run. Friday's an easy run. Saturday's a long run. Sunday's a long run. Monday's a rest. And it's just rinse and repeat.
It's a lot of running.
And it's so like, I'm so glad that I just have that element of predictability.
Yeah.
Because whether you're an entrepreneur or you are working like conventionally in a conventional sense, or you are a student, there are so many moving parts to your life, and different challenges are going to spring up.
Yeah.
And different things are going to throw you, and you're going to have an argument with your partner, and you're going to have some tiff with your friend, and like something's going to kind of throw you, and you're going to feel something. And you're going to be like, I'm out of control in terms of how this thing is feeling, but that's okay. What do I control? I control the fact that I'm going to go for a run today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a swim. Or I'm going to go. And that is so comforting. And
I love that.
I bonded so deeply with that idea over my mom's passing, because I sat there and I thought, okay, what is happening right now? My mom's passed. That has happened. There is absolutely nothing that can be done about that. I'm devastated. I'm sad. That is okay. Let me feel that feeling. But what are the things that I can do that can kind of alleviate the franticness of being out of control? It's choosing to go and move. It's
how can I manage this in a way that's almost like soothing to me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to soothe myself. I'm going to self-soothe by picking some things that I know that I can do most days. And that is the real beauty of exercise. It can hold your hand through something really difficult. Or you can use it to kind of, I don't know, celebrate something cool. You can go hike up a mountain or do something and look at the beautiful view, or watch a sunset or something. But Stoicism and more than movement go like this.
Yeah.
Because of the whole control element.
Yeah.
There, I think. There are various pillars to Stoicism, which I actually need to touch up on. I haven't read so much Stoicism in the last few
You can't
months.
ask me anything about that. I don't know.
It's the thing is because of who you are, I feel like you have a connection to Stoicism, just not in the terminology.
Yeah,
of
no. Like,
Because
I wouldn't
you
know
do-
anything about the pillars, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
you do things that, like exercising perspective.
Yes,
How are you choosing to respond to a thing?
100%. Yeah,
That is like textbook
yeah,
Stoicism.
yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, it very much ties in. It's very much, inspired it from a personal point of view, the whole more than movement thing. And we'll share a lot more about that, and we'll go into a lot more about that
Yeah.
in the episodes to come. But I think that was a cool one to end on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am excited for the
next few
conversations.
podcasts, the next few conversations.
next
It's going to
few
be so
chats,
cool.
The guests.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot to come. There's a lot of exciting
Lots
stuff.
of cool things in the pipelines.
So if you want to find us, Kyra, where you at? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Kyra_Lyn.
Okay, that's LYN.
LYN. Yes.
That's awesome.
KYRA.
Are you on TikTok or anywhere
I
else?
am not too active on
Okay.
TikTok. We'll do the Instagram thing
Okay,
for now.
fine. You can find me at Sprenna, that's SPRENNA on Instagram, and then on TikTok I'm Sprentalk, and then
Sprint.
you can find us as a team and as a gym
Yes.
at Horizon ZA. That's
ZA.
Horizon with an E, so Horizon ZA.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the
On the
next
flip
episode.
side.
Yes, ma'am.
See ya.